Welcome to Well Coached, a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs get into their highest productivity zone and become corporate enough to succeed. Let's get into today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to Well Coached, a podcast about people, sales, profit, and self, and how we can focus on those four things intensely and transform your business. I'm Chris Weinberg, I'm your host, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs find their highest productivity zone, helping them to become corporate enough to succeed, scale, and still like what they're doing. Today, we are joined by two of my best buddies, Steve and Jordan, who are the founders and owners of Ranger Station. And most of you probably know what that is, but if you don't, just a brief background. They started in 2015. Can you believe it's been that long?
God, no, we just hit 9 years. I'm like, it makes me feel old that the company is 9. But
2015.
Our first child.
Yeah, that's right. First baby born. And these guys, for those of you who don't know, Ranger Station is a American heritage fragrance brand. These guys founded it back in 2015. I can't wait to get in the story how that happened, but we're focusing on bold unisex fragrances. Everything is clean, safe, environmentally friendly. And I love the phrase that you guys use of accessible luxury, which is such a great business model, which we'll get into too. But people can feel your brand easily. It's not going to knock them out of the ballpark. We're certainly not the cheapest guy on the block, but we're also not the most expensive guy on the block. And you've done an amazing job of creating a feel-good story and a feel-good brand, which I can't wait to get into. These guys are doing collabs all over the place. They're doing Noah Kahn was the most recent biggie, I think. Mm-hmm. But all kinds of stuff. You see these guys everywhere, whether it's an artist, it's Hardy, Ernest, Waylon Jennings. The list goes on, and the demand keeps rising. And, those folks appreciate high quality. They're used to living in high quality and giving things to their fans that fit their brand. That's quite a testament to you guys. In addition to that, they're showing up everywhere in the best hotel chains, The Graduate, 1928, amongst others. And it just has been an amazing ride. Also a huge charitable arm. They do work with Porter's Call and constantly looking for ways to give back. So I can't wait to dive into that. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping us get to the 9-year mark.
Well, I'm just so happy to hold the tiger by the tail, basically. I see these guys.
The tiger being Jordan.
Yeah. Every we get together a couple times a month, and every time I'm like, all right, what the heck's going on now? Because the pace at which you move is pretty remarkable. Jordan's co-founder and serves as the chief growth officer at Ranger Station, and also you got this second little company that's emerging, the Nashville Candle and Supply, and so we'll dive into that too. Belmont graduate as well. So been around Nashville for a minute, and you in Tennessee. Knoxville is home?
So we're natives.
We're
natives
Nashville.
here at this point.
And then Steve got smart and left Minnesota, and no offense to you cold weather people.
Well, this time of year, my dad's up there now, and it sounds pretty nice. So it's 95 and humid here. 75 sounds pretty good, but better winters here.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of work up there, man. I just don't know how you people live there. The first time I went there and people were plugging in their cars so they didn't die overnight. What am I doing? But
Steve still hasn't brought me in the winter. He's like, no, I don't want to deal with you there.
We are not tough enough for it.
No.
Yeah.
Thick skin.
Steve started as you were a musician for quite a long time and successful with that, and toured all over the world and did your thing. And then when you were home, I'll butcher this a little bit, started messing around with what can I do in my garage, and out came a candle, right? Yep. And messing around with scents. And one thing that I really appreciate about artists, and even artists or not artists or creatives, is this is good for everybody, having a transferable skill set. And when you came off the road for whatever those reasons, I'm sure that creativity needed an outlet somewhere.
Absolutely.
And you were able to transfer. You have a transferable skill set. And so many people don't recognize that you probably do have a transferable skill set. You just got to figure out how to use it, right? And
100%.
Being able to pivot and do new things is that's quite a testament to you.
Yeah, but a lot of people are always like, "Oh yeah, do you really, really, really miss music?" I'm like, yes, I do, but I do feel more creative now than I was when I was doing music. Totally different environment, but yeah.
And now you, sir, Steve's primary role is you're the creative driver into the perfuming, developing the scents, the new products, things that are coming around, the big vision kind of guy.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to talk about the transformation of going from being the jack of all trades to trying to get you in lanes as the CEO and the visionary and all of that good stuff. So with that said, we'll dive into it if that's cool.
Let's go.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about the team, because it used to be you, and I'd like to talk about the evolution of how that started growing all the way back to how do we ever when do we get Jordan fully involved and all of those kind of things, and let's talk about that team build out. So day one, it's you in a garage, and then what?
Yep. Yeah, it was me. I actually started on the stovetop before I even graduated to the garage. Okay. And it was just, I was at home in between tours, bored out of my mind, waiting to get back out on the road. And I started on the stovetop and then graduated to some hot plates in the garage and finally got a really tiny studio. And
when he made his first candle, it was like the week we started dating. So I was like, what? You made a candle? That is so weird.
I literally asked Jordan's dad this the other day. I was like, what did you think when your daughter started dating a drummer who was quitting drums to go make candles?
He said,
it's like, I imagine that's not.
He thought we were in trouble.
He said, I always believed in you. I was like, yeah, right.
Like,
yeah, right.
As a dad now to a daughter, I'm like, I don't know.
Red flag.
But we had just started dating. So I was actually working for my friend who is a brand designer, Lauren. And so she's the creative, but we did the branding and I made his website and all that. So I was involved this whole time and published his website. But it was really just him like going into this little studio. And then you hired your brother, John.
Yeah, I hired my brother, John. I think he was John was touring full time at the time as well. I'm a drummer. He's a bass player. And I hired him just to help me out during like the first holiday season and just with making candles and shipping stuff out. And then he would go back out on the road. And then there was just like a handful of guys. Andrew Thetford was my first employee ever. He came in and it was just the two of us for the longest time. And then everything that we do is all about sustainable growth. And we reached this point where it was like, hey, we gotta get a warehouse and we got to get a bunch of equipment and we don't have the money to do that. And I just, at that point, especially going and raising a bunch of money didn't feel right to me. So we partnered with an awesome company in town called Thistle Farms, and they had production space and equipment. And we started doing all of our production with them for probably 18 months or so. And then reached a really, really cool place with them where they had grown so much and Ranger Station had grown so much that we sat down and literally in the same meeting, they were like, hey, we can't make your stuff anymore. And we were like, that's great. Cause actually we were going to say we're taking our production back. So we got a warehouse, got equipment and stuff. And then the growth of the team since then has just been amazing. We pray about our people a lot. And just like we always say our people are the most important part of what makes Ranger Station. And whether somebody was there for 6 months or they've been there for 6 years, every single person that has been or is still at Ranger Station, it's felt like they were there for the right reason at the right time.
Yeah. We hire super slow. We're super thoughtful. We vet vigorously. And
what kind of qualities are we looking for when you're going through this? And you guys do a really good job of vetting and hiring slow, so I can attest to that. And what are you looking for in terms of, in addition to just basic skill set?
I think that we're looking for good people. Like if you've got the drive and you care about Ranger Station and you care about other people, that is kind of the essence of what we're doing. And that really comes off, every single person that works for us is a representation of us.
Yeah. Stop there. All right, team out there in podcast land. What she just said is such a true thing. Everybody on your team is a representation of you. And every time you open your mouth, every time you have a discussion, your words are landing on the person that's on your team, and they are going to mimic your performance at some point. So hiring slow is a very big deal. And just know that the weakest link on your team is representing your standard.
Yes.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yes.
Okay, back to you.
How many times is that going to happen to
Yeah.
me? No, but I mean, they really do represent us, and it's a really big responsibility. And so we are extremely thoughtful. And if they have the character, that is a huge part of it to us, obviously paired with the skill set. But like, we would hire character and passion over more years of experience.
Yeah.
Over the resume,
you can train the thing, right?
Yeah.
You can't train character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, our team also has just like, they're the cool ones. I think we're good at culture in that we're easy to work with. We really actually do care about people, but I don't think we're bad at slowing down and celebrating the wins and all that. I'm like, oh, we just hit a major milestone. Cool. What's the next one?
What's the next one?
And a lot of our team members have helped us learn, what they need and how to continue to create a culture that's inspiring to them.
Okay, you just giving me another one. Thanks, Jordan. Here's the lesson there, guys. And let's back up one second. You guys know we talk about disc profile a lot. Jordan leads with a D, he leads with an S, and we'll get into that dynamic here in a second. So when she says things like we don't slow down to celebrate the victory, she's always looking for the next thing, right? What's the next goal? And I heard this great quote one time. I wish it was mine. I believe it was Kenny Rogers' mother. I was listening to a Kenny Rogers interview one time. Have I told you all this?
No.
I was listening to a Kenny Rogers interview one time. I love Kenny Rogers. I miss him immensely. And he got success early with his band. And he was talking to his mom once about how do I keep going? I found success early in life. And her quote was, "It's okay to be happy where you are, but not satisfied to stay there." How great is that quote, man?
So
and I
good.
try to live by it, right? It's okay to be happy where you are, but not satisfied to stay there. And oftentimes, folks with higher D personalities have a difficult time celebrating anything. Right. So because it's always, I was supposed to be great. Now let me go be great at something else. So the drive never stops. The importance of that downstream to your team, though, they need to know when they've done well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's OK to enjoy the fruits of your labor along the way. So thanks for setting me up again.
And I feel, it's like I think we've done a good job of surrounding ourselves with people that do that really well, that do remind us to celebrate those wins.
Yeah.
We've got a few people on our team that are just like, when they walk into the room, it's just like the energy just goes up and like the celebration goes up and it's so fun.
Tell me more about the team. How do you interact with them now? What does the rhythm look like? Who are the people around you and what are they up to?
Man. I think, well, first of all, our team is just fun. The thing I always say is, you got to be passionate about what you do. And then you got to do it with people that are really enjoyable to be around. That doesn't mean we don't have hard days and we don't have to like work really, really hard and there's not conflict, but we do that with people that are just fun to do that with, like really good teammates. So our team is, it's built really, really well right now. We have Kyle, our VP of sales. He came on board, 2 years ago now. And he's been incredible. He's taken over all of our sales channels. So he's over all e-commerce, wholesale, custom sales, anything in that area and then we have.
He's a good people manager, which for us, we had to get out of that a little bit. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm not a great people manager to begin with. And Steve is, but could not handle managing everyone. So we've kind of funneled a lot of people through Kyle, and that has been so good. And someone just told me this week that he is one of the best managers they've ever had. So we're like, everyone's in their right seats, which is great. And then we've got, sales.
We got sales leads under Kyle.
Yeah.
So we have in our custom business, Hannah runs all of the sales for that. In our wholesale and retail, Mallory runs all of our sales for that.
We've got creative and then.
Yeah, we got a creative team. That's awesome. And, everybody, we're still a small company. So these are their main roles, but everybody kind of wears some different hats. Like Jim Bug, he's just the most fun guy. And he does all of our graphic design and everything, but he's also our brand purist. We run everything past him of like, hey, is this something we should do? And he's so honest with us. Everybody in the room will be like, hey, let's go do this. And Jim will be the one that's like, guys, I don't think this is right for the brand. And everybody kind of is like, oh man, he's right,
Yeah.
So we just got a good crew of people.
To that point too, we really try to empower our team to we look at our team as our coworkers, and we all work very collaboratively together, but we also tell them, you're an entrepreneur. Like, you're owning the brick and mortar side of our business. You're owning this part, and we want you to go, go, go. And we'll like pull you back into lines if we need to.
Yeah.
And that has been really cool for us. We hire people who have that kind of drive.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
It's quite an evolution from where you used to have to be the jack of all trades and put your hand everywhere. And then along comes Jordan, and that helps some of that. And now you're building out the team to where you do. As I think about all the people you just mentioned, every one of them can represent your brand just as good as you can.
Yeah.
And that is magical, man. That's not normal. So well done there. But every single one of those people, when I think about them individually, they are all rowing the boat in the same direction. Which is really cool. Let's talk about the dynamic of you've got a double whammy, Steve. You work with your twin brother, right?
Yep.
When he said I hired my brother, they are identical twins. And you also work with your spouse. And how do you guys get through tough days together?
Which relationship? Well, which one do we want to start with?
Start with John. That'll be the easy one, right? So you've got this brother that you love dearly. He's your most trusted person that you've known since before you were born.
Yep.
And still here you are in business. And sometimes it's, and while yours is not a family business, it was for a minute.
Totally.
And so you still got those elements there. And sometimes it can be I say people that work with a spouse or a brother, sister, the highs are higher and the lows are lower.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so how's that journey been?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, I think John will probably correct me on this, but it's his third or fourth time at Ranger Station.
Okay.
Like that first time was, that first year when I just needed some help and he was still touring. And so he's seen Ranger Station through all the different iterations. And so he maybe 2021, I think I called him up one day, and back to the trust thing.
Yeah.
I needed somebody that I trusted more than anything that could come in and run all of our manufacturing and production. Because that's one thing, we own all of our manufacturing and production, which a lot of brands don't. But I wanted to do that, and I needed somebody in place that I trusted incredibly well to make sure that our product only ever got better as we grew. We never sacrificed quality as we grew. So, but yeah, like you said, the highs are higher and the lows are lower. And I think it's just been a learning thing for John and I. We've spent literally our whole lives together.
Yeah.
And ask any of our really close friends or our wives, we are completely opposite people. Mm-hmm. I studied business in school and John studied philosophy in school. Like we could not be more different. But I think we've just had a lifetime of learning how to fill different seats. Even just growing up together, like any family, kids have to do that, right? And we were the only two kids in our family, and we just, we figured out what roles each one filled really, really well. And I don't really think that's changed. And I also love working with somebody where anybody else that's ever joined the team, and there's nothing wrong with this, anybody else that's ever joined a team or our team, there's always the relationship build where you have to get to know them and how they operate, how they receive things. With John, I already knew all of that.
Right.
If something goes wrong, we don't have to tiptoe around what happened. Yeah. We can get straight to what is the solution? What do we need to go to? So I love that piece of it. And then there's just, this goes for Jordan and I too, but with John and I, we've just had to learn how to say, hey, we've literally had the conversation of when we are together outside of work, we do not talk about work.
Yeah.
Because we don't want our brother relationship to be all about work.
So you've got a boundary.
Yep.
Yeah. You've got a boundary. How about with this one?
Honestly, so Jordan mentioned we started dating right when I started Ranger Station, and I've been trying to get her on board ever since. And but
as a spouse or as a coworker?
Both.
Okay.
Both. As victorious,
I was all in as the spouse.
Yeah. I was victorious on the spouse first. Somehow I got her as a spouse, even when I was, like, hey, I'm going to quit playing drums, start making candles, and we need to survive on your salary for a few years.
Doesn't that sound attractive?
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember I was the one selling him on that, though. I was like, hey, I really believe in this. There were times when the business was hard and Steve would be like, I don't know, like maybe
it's never going to work.
Maybe I should just sell it or like, stop doing this. And I was like, we were dating. I was like, I will buy it from you. I will buy it. I will run it. like you should not give this up. And I remember when I said that to him, I wasn't trying to be profound, but like his whole demeanor kind of changed. He was like, oh, this is actually a really big thing to you. I was like, yeah, it is. So I've always believed in it, but yeah, we waited till the time was right for me to come on board.
Wait till we could afford it too, because you know we needed to survive on your salary while
she worked for free for you for a while.
Then
we made an honest woman out of her.
But no, that was a bit. I mean, that was a big part of like, especially those times where I was like, man, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing because like my wife's bringing in the income. And so I was having that whole internal battle. But when Jordan was just like, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That gave me the confidence and made me realize, hey, even when she wasn't technically working for a ranger station yet, she was a part of building it. And we were in it together as a team.
When we started together, that we were on the ramp up of that, right? It was moving toward that. So a couple things there. These guys have different disc profiles, and Steve leads with an S and she leads with a D. So literally she just walked down the path. The S sometimes would get in their own head and contemplative and am I doing the right thing and all that kind of stuff. And then here comes the supercharger D going, I'll buy it from you. And what a boost of confidence that had to be for him, for you to say that. I mean, that's an amazing. The second part of that is if you've got a supportive spouse, your business has 10x times of succeeding. If you don't have a supportive spouse, good luck.
Yeah.
Right. Because they can knock you off your game, knock you off your business plan, talk you in and out of things. And so having a partner that is 100% supportive is a 10x, and it definitely is for you. No doubt.
Still, I mean, that was 9 years ago and she still does that today.
Right.
You know, if I've got an off day or I'm just like, man, I'm really stressed about things, she's always my reminder of, hey, things are really good. And this is like going really well. So yeah, she still does that.
When you guys have disagreements inside of the business, how does it get resolved?
I mean, that's so tough. I think often of our teammates and like, you know, their perception of us. I'm like, because when we have disagreements, I have no issue very bluntly telling Steve what I think.
Yeah.
And there are things that he really cares passionately about that we'll talk through. What we do is we talk it out. We seek counsel.
We call you Chris.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
But we do seek counsel a lot. And there will be times when we're like, all right, call Chris or bring Kyle into the room. And we're like, hey, we've got two opposite opinions. What do you guys think? But, you know, you and Kyle both sit between us very well. And I think we both know that when we're disagreeing, you know, we both want what's best for the business.
Yeah.
So that's how we can come back together. And I would hope and think that we both listen very carefully to what at least the middle person is saying. So we're like, okay, maybe you're right.
We can both be agitated by the answer.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. But it is tough. And you just got to leave it at the office and come home. And then.
Are you good at that? Are you good at leaving at the office?
I'm excellent at that.
Jordan is much better at it than I am. For sure.
Back to disc profile stuff, right? S's are going to hold on to stuff a little bit longer and it all weaves together, and D's are able to say stop, start.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And so that's okay.
I'm like, I want to talk through it. I want to process this. I want to, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's harder for me to shut it off for sure.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And spouses, whenever spouses are in business together, it is the most wonderful blessing, because you're never going to have someone that you trust any more than your spouse. Those are the upsides. The downside is you got to be able to have pillow talk that's not focused on the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so especially you're in such a high growth state right now that it's sexy. What you're doing right now is so sexy. Like I'm an adrenaline junkie for your business, and it's not even my business, right? Yeah. So that adrenaline must be 10x for you guys. But being able to balance and not just fall in love with the business by accident.
Yeah.
Because couples will do that, right?
Yeah.
So that sometimes where the business becomes the thing. So friendship suffers, children suffer, the marriage suffers, all that kind of stuff. So sounds like you're putting good intentional effort into not letting that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We have a very strong boundary with that. And
And we've learned, like I've had to learn where it's, you know, my gut is like, oh, if I've had a tough day at work, to go home and be like, hey, Jordan, like, here's everything that happened today. And Jordan's like, it's like,
I just experienced that too.
Yeah, Jordan was like, I know I was there. So like learning how to like really lean on other, like my friendships more for those things and like doing that where, cause like you said, there's so much value in us being able to work together. And there's things like that where I'm like, oh man, that would be great. But actually the balance of being able to be in it together during the day that's the big win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just learning how to tweak other relationships and just to get that in the place that it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be thoughtful.
Different
when we're at
outlets.
home.
Yeah. So that we can have that boundary.
It's so good too, because like if you're on this entrepreneurial journey together, but most times one of the spouses is the entrepreneur and one's either doing a different job or staying at home or whatever. And it can be extraordinarily difficult for the non-entrepreneur to understand what the entrepreneur is up to and going through. And so even those kind of conversations become really difficult. And so that's another advantage of you guys being together, which is great. Let's shift gears and talk about growth a little bit. Jordan, you're the Chief Growth Officer. What have been some of the most effective strategies that you've been thinking through and utilizing to grow the brand?
So a few different things. This happened early on, and this is all Steve, but when we started, there were all these marketplaces happening. So it was like these cool brands that we really liked, and they sold candles, they sold like blankets, they're just like cool things. You could go find whatever you wanted for a dude. And I was like, when are we doing that? That's awesome. And Steve was like, I want to expand, but I only want to stay in our lane. And that was so wise, because now all those marketplaces are either gone or they are not as big as they once were. And us staying in our lane and really leaning into the fact that like, maybe we're not for everyone. Like we're leaning into this very specific story of American heritage fragrance. That has only propelled us forward versus being like, well, but we could do this and this and this. So that has been really important. And then wholesale was a big part of our growth. And we work with a lot of partners across America. And it's like these kind of mid-tier, it's not like we've worked with Nordstrom, but like what kills it for us is like a White's Mercantile here in Nashville. It's like this really cool curated store that just crushes it. If you're in Nashville, you're going to White's.
Right.
So wholesale really just has gotten us in front of the right audiences. And then most recently, our partnerships are what have just changed the
Talk more about the
us.
partnership. How do you go about deciding what's a good strategic partnership? How do those come alive? What's the vetting process for all of that?
Well, up until this point, really, it's people have been reaching out to us, and like we didn't even have a strategy for reaching out to other people. I don't mean that as a humble brag. Like people are just asking us all the time. More so, we were not like thinking that way necessarily, but we just had friends of friends who kind of brought people to our attention or whatever. And so, like we had Tecovas reach out to us. Well, our whole team is like, Tecovas? Are you serious? Yeah. Like, I'm wearing Tecovas right now. Literally. That's how we decide. If our team is stoked about it, we're stoked about it. And the music thing is really interesting because that was just naturally happening for us. We have these features partnerships. So you mentioned Noah Kahn. We've also partnered with the band Camino and Need to Breathe and Ernest and told all these.
Got more coming.
Yeah, we've got more coming,
works.
But we've told these really cool stories. But all of those are bands like the band Camino we freaking love the band Camino. So we're like, is this like our highest sales move? I have no idea, but like they are so cool. Our customers need to know about them if they don't already. If they already know about them, they're going to be stoked to try these products. So we kind of just like keep it personal. We're not trying to like do these partnerships to like put us on some mass scale. It's more so like what really resonates with us. And we think that will resonate with our customer too.
I think we do a good job of, with our partnerships in any collaborations we do or anything like that, we want to do it with good people and we want to do it in a way that's really fun. Like we've even had people we work with just be like, this was like so much fun to do this partnership together. And I think that's important. We make sure that it makes sense for the business, of course. And we make sure that it's very true to who we are. Like it's a very like, hey, we all want to work on this together. This is going to be a fun thing to do together. And we believe in what they're doing and they believe in what we're doing. It's a very mutual thing that we partner on. And I think that's key. We're not just going out to be like, hey, what's going to make us the most money here? Like what partnership's going to make us the most money?
We crunch the numbers, but that what he said, you know, when they are excited and we are excited, that's when we go forward. When we're trying to force something with someone else or vice versa, like we've learned to just drop
there's your sign.
Yeah, there's your sign.
There's
like
your sign.
It's not worth it. And we've definitely tried to force, you know, things with really cool, whatever brands. And
it just becomes clear that it's not right.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys have done a great job of finding your lane, like you said, and not trying to be all things to all people. Yeah. And that in and of itself creates a mousetrap that is attractive for people in your your lane of caring about the same things. So and you guys are super protective about that, which is great. So talk to me a little bit about the customer engagement part and successful methods that you're using to engage with customers. You guys have an unbelievably loyal community with you, and that's not by chance. Mm-hmm. So
I think one of the biggest things that changed the game for us was opening our brick and mortar in 12 South, and people got a chance to step into our world. We got to welcome people in. We kind of felt like it was an extension of our home. And I do feel so protective of it. When I walk in, I'm like, offer them a water. Yeah. But, you know, like we really feel like we're opening the doors up to the brand. And that was a game changer for our customer to walk in and talk to people who were very thoughtful and asking them, you know, what they needed, how we could help them.
What have you learned by having a retail store? Have we learned anything from our customers by having that?
So
people, we're in fragrance, right? So it's we're in, there's job security in it, and that it's one of the only things that'll always be analog. There's no way to digitize fragrance, which is amazing, but it makes it so hard to sell online. Yeah. Because but you can't smell it through a screen, right?
Right.
Somehow people were buying online, but
people, for sure, sure. But our number one way we still acquire customers is through people walking into a store and smelling our candles or smelling our fine fragrance. So when we opened up our store, it was cool because then we had immediate access to watching people shop in person. And the way, I'm sure this is true for every industry, but especially in fragrance, people shop so differently in person than they do online. And that's helped us with our in-person sales and with our online sales on how do we communicate to customers. But specifically when people come into our store and we watch them shop, then we're able to take that experience and try to translate that online as much as we can. Yeah.
Well, sometimes we'll have a store, you know, item that is doing so well, and it's not doing as well online. And then we're like, oh, people really like this scent. We're not storytelling it in the right way. So we can change our messaging. Yeah. But Steve and I work in the store when we can. And it is I mean, it fires me up. More
Probably
than
your most
anything.
fun thing
Oh,
to
it's
be
the
there.
best. It's
So
the best.
is it safe to say that the online people are buying the story when they buy online, but
Yes.
they're buying
yeah.
the scent when they come in the store?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I think
quite
that's
a
fair.
combination.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Both
'cause
are very important.
You hear like retail's dead. I don't believe that.
Oh my
I never
gosh.
have.
I don't believe that.
I think it's stronger than ever.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
different than it used
it's
to be.
just different.
Yeah.
Right. It's just different.
Yeah. And people want that. We're so inundated now with just like options that people want to go into a store where somebody has curated it already, and so they're not overwhelmed by options. And I
Yeah.
think they just want it that, especially post pandemic, people just want a fun experience.
Right.
So
Yeah.
That's cool.
yeah.
Steve, when you're developing new scents, what's and taking in customer feedback, how do you do it? How do you decide, okay, it's time to go develop a new scent? Is that coming up in your own head? Is it coming from reading? Is it coming from customer feedback? What's the process around product development for you?
It's all of the above. I'm not a songwriter, but I always compare it to songwriting because I was around it so much just when I was in music full time, and sometimes it's just spur of the moment and it's done in 5 minutes, and other times it's a very like, hey, the market is moving in this certain way, and I want to do something in that vein, and sometimes it takes months and months and months. So it just totally depends. But I think at the end of the day, for me, fragrance, similar to music, it's just a vessel for storytelling. So whenever I'm doing a fragrance, whether it's making a perfume for Jordan or doing the partnership with Noah Kahn or just coming up with a new fragrance, there's always a story behind it. And I think that's where I always start is, what do I want this to achieve? Because I won't go too nerdy on it, but our sense of smell operates so different than all of our other senses, in that it's the only one that's directly tied to our limbic system, where that's our long-term memory processing and our emotional processing, which is why when you smell something, you can get really nostalgic, or any memory or experience you have that has fragrance, a piece of it is just a stronger memory where our minds are able to retain it better. So that's what I'm trying to do when I'm working on a fragrance, is just tell, what story am I trying to tell? How do I want somebody to use this? Because at the end of the day, we're just making perfumes and candles, but we're doing it for the reason of, I want you to take our candle and I want you to have it lit when you're having a dinner party at your house, because I want you to have an incredible experience with those people. And I want that fragrance to help you do that. So I want it to be the means that help people do those things. And it's just always a different story that it's telling.
Yeah.
And some of those are more mass stories, if you will, like for a lot of people, and other times they're super unique and really out of left field. And we do this category of ours called Studio Reserve, where I get to get really creative and really weird with stuff and use really random raw materials. And it's maybe 10% of people that smell it are gonna love it.
Yeah.
But those people love it more than anything.
Yeah.
And that gets me really
that's
excited
good.
too.
That's what I was wondering. So how do you stay true to the core values or the core brand line, if that's even a thing, but then allow for your creativity around that?
100%. Yeah. It's just each one's a different story and each one has a different purpose. And sometimes, like if I'm doing something for a hotel, 99.9% of people that walk through those doors, I want to think that that's like a really calming, really great fragrance.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a fine fragrance and I want to do something really unique, I'm okay if only 10% of people like it. I'm okay if only 5% of people like it. It just depends on what we're trying to accomplish with it. Yeah. So it's a fun range.
Yeah.
And different challenges.
You got a cool job.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's so wild. I keep saying, like, this is so niche. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We're in the fragrance industry.
See, I don't think you're in the fragrance industry. I think you're in the storytelling industry.
I do too.
You happen to have a fragrance. You happen to have fragrances, but you guys
it's just
are
the vessel we tell the story.
I mean, you do such a great job of cultivating your brand. Let's talk about some parts of the business that aren't the most fun for creatives, the profit side. How do you keep the wheels on the bus? Because you've got to capital intensive business.
Yeah.
And it's growing and changing. And neither of you got in business saying, I can't wait to go manage spreadsheets and QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So how do you do it? How do you look after the profitability side of your business and make sure that we're sustainable?
What are you going to say?
He's asking specifically me.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. How do you do it, Jordan?
I'm the person that I'm like looking at the balance. I'm like, I think we're good. Steve is
Jordan in our budget meetings is like crying.
No, but Steve
I think the number one thing, before it even gets to the spreadsheets or anything like that, the thing that we've always stuck with since we started is sustainable growth. And what that means is that we are always taking risks, but we're always taking risks that we know that we can afford. Mm-hmm. And we're doing it in ways where, we could go raise money and go open 50 stores across the country. Like that's something we could go do, but that doesn't feel like the right sustainable way to grow. We're like, all right, let's do one store. And now that we've done one, let's look at doing a few more. Every risk that we have taken, we've thought really well about it. And I think that's helped us really keep the wheels on and stay true to ourselves as well. And it allows us to test so many different things. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the number one thing that we've done really, really well. And that's as a team where we allow everybody to get really creative and take risks, but we always do it within the context of making sure that it is sustainable to do. And then the other thing is I'm a big 80-20 rule guy, and we never lose sight of what got us to where we are. I think a lot of companies, they pay attention to what everybody else is doing and what market trends are doing. And we just pay really, really close attention to, while we're always trying new things, never losing sight of what got us there. Yeah. Of the fragrances that got us there, the products that got us there, and making sure that we always focus on those and always give those light of day especially when it comes to marketing time. And then to get into the spreadsheets, we just really pay attention to the margins of different products. Yeah. Who's handling your accounting? Do you do all that in-house or not? No, we use our good old friends over at G&A. Yeah. They're doing all of our accounting, they're the best. And they keep me sane. And that allows for you guys to focus on the business instead of so much in the business, because they're experts, right? Yeah. And you guys, we've talked about this on other episodes. I'm a huge proponent of outsourcing accounting, because this just doesn't, unless you're an accountant, that just does not need to be your domain expertise, right? Yeah. You need accuracy and facts, but you need to be out there focused on sales growth, and you need to be out there focused on what's the next great scent, and someone smarter than us can be adding up the digits, right? Absolutely. And presenting information that clears the deck for you really well. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about pricing strategy. How do you decide what to charge? I think what American Craftsmanship has done a really good job of is you are paying for quality, but you're not paying for more than just the quality. And when it comes to the fragrance space, I have a ton of respect for all the brands and all the fragrances and everything that's out there. However, within the fragrance space, a lot of it can become most of it is very high art, it can get, you're paying $450+ for a bottle of perfume, or $100+ for a candle. And while that candle you're buying and that perfume you're buying is really, really high quality, the only reason it's $450, $500 is to create this kind of aura of, man, I got this really expensive perfume. There's nothing in the bottle itself that makes it worth that amount of money, even though the raw materials are great. So when it comes to pricing for us, we want to be, you mentioned at the beginning, attainable luxury. Yeah. We will never, ever sacrifice the quality of our goods, candles or fine fragrance or anything else we make, in order to bring a price down. But we also will make sure that we are always using the best quality materials and then pricing our product accordingly to that, so that it's a luxury, really quality product that people can still afford. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing for us, I think, is making sure that it is attainable. We don't want to price it out of, we don't want to price it so only certain people can buy it. Right. We want it to be something that people can approach. People can approach and enjoy. Yeah. Because again, we're telling a story, and I want as many people as possible to be a part of that story. Yeah.
That's great. What's next? Where are we headed next?
Jordan, Chief Growth Officer, Jordan.
Headed to the moon.
Yeah.
Tell us what we're doing next, Jordan.
Yeah.
We have
I'm excited to hear what she says because, I'm nervous.
I think I know we're going to continue to lean into the products that have built us. Our first top seller is still our top seller.
Wow.
I mean, that speaks so much to the quality. And so we're continuing to lean into those things. We're going to open more stores. That feels so exciting to, give more Ranger Station experiences. We have some really cool partnerships coming up that we are just pinching ourselves over. So, I mean, that kind of like creativity for us, like, the names that we partner with, like, okay, cool. But the story that we get to tell is so exciting for us. And so we've got some feature stuff coming up that's going to be really cool. We've got a Christmas candle. Yeah. So lots of exciting things, but we're just trying to keep the momentum going. Like we've got more, we're going to be in hotels, hotel amenities. That is crazy. Yeah. That's maybe like the biggest accomplishment ever in my mind.
I mean, we want people when they're traveling in a really great hotel to
mind-blowing
be able to use our stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. We just want more of the world to know about Ranger Station. Hopefully we'll be more international soon. So we got lots to do.
Yeah, and the team's growing. I think that's the thing that's most exciting for me is like we're bringing more. I mean, we just hired a few people and we've got more in the works already, and it's just in like watching the team grow to go execute these things and also just like see people grow on our team. And we've got a young team of people that are hungry, and it's just really fun to watch those people grow.
Yeah.
And learn.
We're all growing together. I feel.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Well, you've done an amazing job of continuing to level up your team at the appropriate time. And so many people get blind to that. And so they run out of steam because they can't get out of it. Right? Everybody needs evolving skill sets. And one way to do that is to grow the people in your organization, but also bring in super good domain experts and buy the talent, which you've done. And then you guys have done an amazing job of telling your story consistently. So let that be a thing too out there, team. They know who they are and they say it every single day. And to me, that's why many people make a nice candle, to your point, or a nice fragrance, to your point. The difference is, how do I connect with you? And you guys are masterful at paying attention to protecting that brand and enhancing that brand. And I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for saying that. It is very natural to us. I think we just couldn't do it any other way.
It's the coolest thing. Right. It's the coolest thing to see the brand all over the country too. I mean, I was at the Sphere not long ago, and there it is, right there in Vegas, and just to see that growth and the explosion and the network of people who love you and care about you, and being good people has a lot to do with that. So well done on that end too.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, we're good people because we surround ourselves with good people.
Yeah, so we wouldn't be here without you. Let's be honest.
Well, thanks a bunch. We'll wrap it. Thanks a ton for your time.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to continue on the journey and see where it goes.
See what the next 9 years hold.
Okay. All right, guys. See you next time. Well, guys, that's a wrap for today. We thank you a ton for listening and looking forward to the next episode where we'll continue this journey on how becoming corporate enough can put you in your highest productivity zone to create a successful, profitable, and purpose-driven business for you.